It is about 1:30 in the morning here in Japan. It is March 19th now, which means that it's Tuesday. It is the last week of me teaching at my current job, which is a small, private, after-school sort of conversation English school called an Eikaiwa. I've been at this job for 2 years, and we have 4 teachers working at the school. I think it was last week we were going to welcome the new teacher to the school. It was a man who was in his 30s from Canada, and he had arrived in Japan the day before, and we were sitting in the office, and he came in, and we were like, oh yeah, hey, look, you're here, it's like great and everything. And he sat down, and the boss was like, oh, he has something to tell you guys. And he was kind of like red in the face, and he told us that he couldn't work there. He couldn't work here at this job. Like, he thought he could come to Japan and he thought he could work here, and he couldn't do it. And then our boss was like, okay, I'm gonna take him back to the apartment. And they left. And that's pretty much it. We're not in Tokyo. We're about 2 hours from Tokyo. Where I live it's beautiful. It's a great city. It's fantastic. Like, there's so much interesting, like, rich cultural history, and it just feels so healthy, and it's gorgeous. I get to see Mount Fuji all the time. I'm around like some of the most amazing mountain ranges in the world. Like, historically there have been people from, the Swiss Alps in Europe and things like that have come to this region of Japan in the very center of Honshu, one of the most isolated places in Japan that was hardly touched during the war and hasn't been affected much by tsunamis or earthquakes or nuclear explosions or anything like that. Like, this is one of the most preserved areas in Japan and produces so much like high quality agricultural and cultural and culinary assets. Like, we have some of, like, in my opinion, the best food in Japan, and we have like highly renowned produce such as peaches and grapes and wine. We're like the wine center of Japan. We have great sake. We have cool, clear mountain like spring water and hot springs, and just it's an amazing area, and we're like highly connected to both Kyoto and Nagoya and Tokyo, and it's just a great place to live. So I'm really saddened. Like, I feel not I feel sad that like he isn't able to come and stuff, and he didn't really give us an explanation. We couldn't really ask. The man was sobbing. And he's older, and I'm much younger than him, and the last hire is much younger than me, so it's kind of like, why can't you live in a different country? Like, you really considered it. You went as far as to buy your ticket and come out here, but you can't actually like live here. I don't know. I don't know. I've had my qualms. I've had my issues with people in the past since I've moved out here saying things like, oh, you're in Japan. Japan's so amazing. I wish I could come visit you. Like, I would love to come visit you. Like, oh my gosh, if I do, you're gonna like show me around and stuff, right? And I'm like, of course. Oh my gosh, yes. Like, come visit me. Like, come to Japan. Like, I will totally take time out and we'll hang out and it'll be fantastic. And I'll get to show you all the places that I've explored and like all my recommendations. Like, I would love to play hostess. And then the excuses come. Like, oh, I don't have time, or yeah, I'll definitely come, and then just nothing, radio silence. And or people, I think I know of maybe one person who has come to Japan, and she was with her boyfriend, and they just, they had such a short time here, they weren't able to make it into the countryside. I understand that. I've spent a week, like I think the first time I came, I spent a week in Japan, and it was just Tokyo. I was only in Tokyo, and I was knocked out sick on my ass for like a complete day, one day. Um, but there's so much to do in Tokyo, and Tokyo is so large. It's several cities combined. Um, that it really, I don't blame people for not getting outside of it. Um, so like if you only have like a week or something like that, yeah, just spend your time in Tokyo or Kyoto or whatever. You'll have way more things to do in that time than you could possibly ever get done. You will run yourself ragged. Your feet will be bleeding trying to get everything done. You'll put a hole in your wallet trying to get everything done that you want to do if you were to do that. In only a week. What am I looking at here? This is, can I edit this like as I'm doing this? Okay. So, yeah, I don't blame them for not being able to come out to see Fuji, or, I mean, there are some days you can see Fuji from Tokyo, but it's not that impressive as if you get up close to it and actually go there. And I mean, they're resolving that, I think. They're gonna put a high-speed train between Tokyo and Kawaguchiko, which is right in front of Mount Fuji, between now and I think the Olympics in 2020 next year. I think that's when they're trying to get it done. And they're also putting a high-speed maglev train between Tokyo and Nagoya that's going to come right here to this city. So, we're on the map. It's not like we're out in the boonies or anything. I don't know, maybe that was his concern, was like, I can't live in the boonies. I think personally he was overwhelmed because he flew in and came straight to Yamanashi like that night, that day. And for me, like when I moved, like after I'd already visited here, I'd already been here. I don't know if he's ever been to Japan. Like that's number one, the thing. He probably doesn't know any Asian language. Like I have a basis in Asian languages, like Chinese, so and Korean, and just sort of like a general like familiarness with Japanese. Never studied it, but I kind of knew what I was getting into. That's another thing. So if you're in a foreign country and you have no familiarity whatsoever with anything, you're going to be very intimidated. And Tokyo is pretty easy to figure out, in my opinion, coming from somebody with like general knowledge of Asian stuff. Because they do have a lot of signs in English and stuff, and people generally know English and they'll be able to help you figure out where you're going. But he tried to come into the countryside like in the same day. I'm sure it was very, very stressful for him. And of course he got picked up by my boss and then taken to his place, and I don't know though, it must have been too much pressure because he cracked that night before coming to work to the office to see us the next day. Plus that's very stressful to come in to the office the next day and expect to be shown around and learn things and stuff. And then he was going to be here for like 3 days and then go back into Tokyo so that he could do job training. I'm like, look at me here. Job training so that he could get certified and start working in like 2 or 3 weeks. Like, so for me, when I came, I wanted to spend time in Tokyo. Like, even though I'd already spent a week there, I wanted to spend more time because the city is so big and amazing. And of course, I'm flying in, so of course, I'm gonna, book a little time to stay. And I've traveled a lot, so like that's kind of what I would do. So I stayed at a hostel, and getting from the airport to the hostel, I had a moment that was different from the one other time that I had visited Tokyo, and that was this moment. I might have mentioned it before. This moment where I was at a station and I had my 2 suitcases with me, and it was my entire life. Not my entire life, but that feeling that I had my entire life was like with me, my possessions, all my important things, everything I needed to get the next 2 years of my life started, like the next thing that I'm going to be doing. This is huge. And I was trying to transfer at one station to another to get to my hostel, and there was a giant set of stairs just like stretching up to the ceiling and beyond. And I mean, at least it felt like that. Like, it wasn't that tall, but it was tall, and I was tired, and there was no escalator and no elevator, and my bag was so heavy, and I was just like, I don't want to walk. I don't want to carry my shit up these stairs. I don't want to do it. And I had just come up another set of stairs and turned around, and then there was a second flight. And I was like, fuck, what the hell? And I couldn't ask anyone. Like, you can't, like, in that situation, you can't turn to someone on the street and be like, hey, do you know if there's an escalator in the station? Do you know if there's an elevator in the station? How do people with wheelchairs use this station? And I remember I looked on Google Maps and I was like, is this handicap accessible? I was like looking for information on the station, and there was nothing. Like, there's nothing, and there was no like station attendant anywhere. Like, I'd gotten lost before last time I visited, and I was able to ask the ticket master at one of the stations. I was like, how do I get to the airport from here? And he was very helpful, and he answered me in English. But in this case, I was outside on the street going up a second flight of stairs into the station, and there were so many people. They were all rushing around me, walking, just going about their business. And it was this like really isolating, frustrating moment where I was just like, I fucking hate the city. Not this city in particular, but the city. I hate the city. I hate the urban rush, and I was really upset. I was really mad. I was really frustrated, and I did not climb those stairs because I was so mad and frustrated and like disheartened by all the people like rushing around and ignoring me, kind of like ignoring that I was frustrated, which is totally a normal thing to do. Like, if I saw someone frustrated on the street, I would like stay away from them. I'm not about to like involve myself with like somebody who's like angry or something like that. But that you hear this thing about like how in Japan everyone's so friendly and they're so helpful and they'll bend over backwards to help a foreigner and stuff like that. And I mean, maybe I don't look like I'm a foreigner or whatever, but I have a giant fucking suitcase, and I'm standing at the bottom of the stairs, and I'm standing there for a long time, but nobody notices because they're there and then they're gone. And maybe they look back or whatever, but they're not going to go out of their way to help you. They're doing their own thing. Like, it's not their place to do anything for you. And I'm not going, I mean, it's not my place to expect them to do anything for me. They're just people. And I think a lot of Americans have grown up with this sort of like almost mythologized view of like Japan and its culture and how like hospitable it is, like how much hospitality there is. Um, but anyway, that was a moment that came close to breaking me. I was just like really frustrated. So after I looked at Google Maps, I kind of figured out a different way to get there, and I went back down, and I went back to a bigger station that was probably definitely going to have escalators and elevators and not any fucking stairs that I had to carry my giant, heavy fucking suitcase that I'm moving to another country with up. Because I was not about to do that. I'm not about that life, you know? Like, who is? Who is going to do that? Like, sure, someone would, but I'm trying to make my life easier, okay? Like, and I did. I went back to the station before that, which was larger, and I transferred lines there, and it was able to take me to the station that I wanted to go, which also had escalators and elevators and everything. And in fact, the station that's here, the main station for my city, last year, this past year, they're done now, but last year, I'm pretty sure it was last year, they did a whole new renovation in the front part, like the main descent. When you get out of the station, you leave on the south side. They put in elevators, and it's a bit weird to me that they didn't have elevators before that, actually. Like, I think they were tucked away in the sides of the building, like where the businesses are, because there's a couple of like businesses, like a grocery store and like a food court and stuff like that, and like apparel shops and things like I think on that side they had elevators, but like coming out of the station there were no elevators on the south side. There are some on the north side, and it's basically impossible to walk from the north side to the south side. The only way that I know of is if you were to take a bridge that goes over. Now that I think about it, like you either go on one side or the other because the trains cut across. The tracks cut across, so you have to cross the tracks somehow, and that's the only way to do it. There's no underground pass. I think on the north side they might have elevators, but on the south side they didn't, like coming out of the station. But on the inside of the station they do have elevators, I think. I never use the elevators because they have escalators. They have escalators on every side. So why would I use an elevator unless I had a wheelchair? That's the only reason I would use it, is if I had a wheelchair. Because if you have luggage, you take the escalator. Anyway. Going back to that. Yeah, I got to my hostel and I hung out for a few days, and then I got on the bus and I came here. My boss picked me up. He put me up in a hotel because my temporary apartment wasn't ready, and I was fine with the hotel. I prefer, in fact, to be in these more like public places rather than like a more private space when I'm traveling. Like if I'm in a public space where there's more people and it's used publicly and there are locks on the doors, then I'll be happier than if you try to bring me to like a more private residence or like a more private like place. Like it's a security thing, like for a girl, you know? Like I take a lot of risks when I travel. Like some people would say even traveling itself is a risk, and they're right. It is a risk, but I definitely have like limits on my comfort that I didn't know existed until that they were like tested. Like the first time I went on the international travel by myself to Taiwan, my manager at the time, she put me in a hostel for the first night or two or three or something like that, and I was more comfortable with that because I had a roommate. There was a lock on the door. I could easily come in and out of the building, and she also brought me to her home to meet her husband and her children, and she treated me out to dinner, and I was like way more uncomfortable going to her house and feeling kind of like loopy from not sleeping and kind of like, oh my god, I'm in a stranger's house, like in a different country, and she brought me here because I signed up for this program, and what am I doing here? What if they like drug me? Like, can I even drink this tea that they're offering me? Like, what if I'm like not sleepy, but like they gave me something? Like, I was freaking out like a little bit. So that's kind of where my limit is. Like, I prefer to settle into a place on my own terms, you know? And then after that, we went to the school, and she showed me around, and I met the president of the place, and then she took me to a homestay, which is where I stayed, and that was all fine. It was all good. I did not actually like. I mean, staying at the home was kind of okay. Um, I was kind of pushing to stay in the dorms though, because then I'd have even more freedom. Um, but anyway, after getting into the hotel, I moved to a temporary apartment, which was, you know, lots of freedom. It's basically an apartment. And then after that, I rented my own apartment. And between that, when I had the rental apartment, the temporary apartment, I would go to work on my own, and I went and did everything on my own, and it was just kind of like normal, you know? So this guy, he didn't even get, like, I would say 48 hours in Japan before he decided it was a big ass mistake. And to me, that's the mistake, because he didn't give himself time to adjust. He just kind of like had a little breakdown and gave up. Yeah, that's just like, I can't, I can't. And one of the first things that we talked about in the meeting, me and my coworkers, was that that is a real mark of your character. I mean, you can definitely take it as a mark of your character that you would like apply and go as far as to like show up, but then yeah. So I think even if he changed his mind the next day, he wouldn't have been able to talk to us about it. Like, it's pretty much understood at that point that you can't. But also at that point, what can we do? We've got like 2 weeks before classes start for the new year, and this is my last week of class now that I'm teaching. I just finished my Monday classes. I'm probably never going to see those kids again. I know at least 2 of them were completely finishing with the school. They're not coming back. So, and there's no teacher to take over my classes. There's no teacher to take over my lessons now. So we had to reorganize my schedule to fit only 3 teachers now, because my boss was talking about, oh, maybe we would redecide next year or whatever if he was going to cut down on classes because we've been losing students. It's a thing. It just happens. The school's been going for 20 years, but, you know, attendance fluctuates, and they haven't exactly been advertising. But anyway, that 4th employment position is just gone now, and they took my classes and they redistributed in between the 3, and we were able to talk about that. So on the one hand, I'm like, I mean, it's not really great all around. Like, I feel bad for the school that it's not doing so well. It's good now that they don't have to spread out the salary even more, because there's less students. It's kind of sad that they were able to redistribute my classes fairly easily. Like, we did it in that one day after the guy said that he was gonna leave. And on the other hand, it's kind of like my position is pointless being here. They didn't really need me. They could have all done it, like the 3 of them. But of course, I was one of the three. Like we have been juggling basically 3 positions since the guy who was hired with me was fired. Like he wasn't able to do the work and he exploded emotionally and literally yelled at our boss, and it was not good. And we had to quickly hire someone to replace him, but we couldn't quickly hire someone, so we kind of like outsourced his position part-time, took over some of his classes, split them up. We like dissected that, and we made like it into 3.5 positions. Then we hired somebody, so then it was 4 for a year, but it's still, business hasn't picked up as much as I guess you would expect to have for 4 people. So there's been a little bit of difficulty, like there was a little bit of difficulty like figuring out the schedules and stuff, but in the end they were able to split my position up, which is good for where they're at now. And they did ask, one of my coworkers asked me, he was like, did the boss say anything about you staying longer or anything like that? And one of my coworkers who's been here longer than me said that he was going to leave too around the same time as me, but then he decided to stay 6 months longer to save money, and just because I don't know if he's ever going to leave. I don't think now is a good time for him. He's dating someone and he's been here longer than me, and there's really no reason for him to leave, except for him feeling like maybe stuck. And I agree, he is kind of stuck because he's not leaving. So it's not like it's easy for me to leave. Like there's actual like real work that I have to do to get ready to go. This is a 26-minute long video. This is gonna turn into another hour-long stream probably, but you just do it. And I mean, that's all there is to it. Like you cut your losses and you go, basically. And that's possible. I know it's possible for him because he moved to Japan from, the UK. So like I know he's capable of it, and I know I'm capable of it. We're all capable of it because we're all transplants from somewhere else. Can move. Of course, coming here, I had a large suitcase and a small suitcase, and that was it. Leaving, I haven't packed the large suitcase and small suitcase, but I am looking at packing some boxes, shipping them to myself, packing those suitcases, bringing them with me. I get a second free checked bag because it's an international trans-Pacific flight. So I'm thinking about buying another suitcase just to take it with me. I've got furniture I need to sell. I've got vehicles I need to sell. I had 2 bikes and a car, and I've sold 1 bicycle. People have expressed interest in the car and the other bicycle, which is an electric bicycle. I have some time that I can sit on those and sell, and I don't know. I mean, it's a possibility. Everything's a possibility, right? I've got a little bit of time before I actually have to unload it. So the only thing is, like, I don't want to drive around in my car with like everything packed up in boxes and not actually send them. So I actually do have to pack those boxes and pack things and stuff. So but anyway, getting into minute 29, let's talk about the reason for this video, which was not to talk about my job situation so much. It's to talk about what's been going on, where I'm at right now, what I'm doing in the future. Why is this probably the last vlog that I'm doing in Japan? So like I said, it's been 2 years. I updated some of the titles on my last vlogs and the descriptions and things like that, because the way YouTube does it, it just automatically titles all of my live streams the same thing. And I'm a lazy person, and I was watching Tokyo Creative videos. I don't know, video makers, like members of Tokyo Creative, and it's weird to me that like Tokyo Creative has gotten off the ground in like this past year in a way that I have not seen previously, and it seems like it's really become a collection of well-known creators in Japan, Japan bloggers, and um, I definitely watch the majority of them, I would say, but like I'm kind of like feeling some kind of way that I've been here for 2 years and I don't think I've made much of an impact really. Like I like video production. I have a degree in it, and yet I don't do that at all, really. It's very strange. Like this is probably one of the me being here and living here and exploring Japan is one of the most compelling topics that I could possibly put out there, I think, and it's really interesting for a lot of people on YouTube to watch, and I certainly watch it. I'm always consuming other people's content about Japan, and I always find it really interesting to watch their vlogs. My style of doing vlogs is completely different, but that's because of like this is easy for me. Like I'm always gonna go for what's easiest because if it's not super easy, it's not gonna get out there. And that doesn't gain me anything in exposure. It's not flashy. It's some people would say it's not interesting. But you know what? I just watched an hour and 40-minute long video that was edited. It was not straight streamed like this is of someone reading and dissecting and discussing a published Reylo Star Wars fan fiction. Hey Jenny girl, I love you. Um, and it's crazy to me that that video was able to keep my attention for so long, and yet my videos, they're not, I mean, I guess I'm not really doing anything to garner any attention, which is fine. These are more like video diaries than they are like the the image of a vlog on YouTube nowadays is not this. It's something that's been edited and cut up, and you know, people put a lot of effort into them, so I can't really complain that something simple is not at that level, because it's not at all. So I guess I'm just kind of like looking back at my time here, I regret that I didn't reach out to people that I admire who are active in this community, if you can call this a community, like people who are foreigners who are living in Japan who are making videos. But I'm not really making a video, but I just, in my head, I imagine. Man, I wonder if it's like one of those like consumer like bystander kind of like things where like you watch somebody's videos and you feel a kinship to them, but like if they actually met you, they wouldn't actually know you, kind of things. But in my head, I guess I still think of myself as a video maker and a creator, and the work isn't there though, so it doesn't show. So I have no one to blame but myself that like I'm not part of like a collective or anything like that anymore. I'm not part of a community really. And I've met a lot of really interesting people in my time here, and some of the most interesting things are when they display their interests or their communities that they found and stuff. For me, the only really like thing that I've done since be here is I've been very interested in dogs. I got my own dog, and I do about as much as I can for where I am, for who I am, with the dog interest that I have. And that is going to the dog show for my dog's breed, which is here in this area. um, every time it happens that I know of, which is in the spring and in the fall. So I've gone there maybe 3 times now, I think. And I wanted to enter him in it, but the only way to enter him is to get a form from one of the magazines put out by the association that runs the dog show, fill it out, send it into their office. And I don't have that form. I don't have that magazine. In order to sign up for the magazine, you have to contact the office. They don't have a website, so I don't know how you contact the office. When I went to the show, I wasn't able to approach the judges or the administration or anything. I always showed up late. They were always busy with the show, and no one there speaks English. It's probably, yeah, the language ability is really abysmal, and I haven't improved very much in Japanese since I've been here. No one's fault but mine. And when I stopped by the office, which is in my city, it was closed. That was one time that I did that. So whose fault is it that I didn't go back and try again? Mine. That pretty much shows my interest. The only other thing that I've been really interested in maybe is like taiko drums, but that was just kind of like I saw it one time and I was like, oh my god, I want to sign up for that school and go every week and practice and be really good at it, and that would be so amazing, and I can do performances and take videos and it would be awesome. And I researched the school and I found out where it is, and I never went. I like onsens, and I think maybe the most like in-depth thing I've done for onsens is I went to an onsen town in Nagano, and I paid a lot of money because they have these like 9 onsens that samurai have been bathing in since like 400 years ago or something like that, and even like the warlord who was in charge of the region, who is like the namesake warlord of the city that I live in, he went there to like heal his battle wounds at one point. So I was really excited to bathe in the same waters as this famous old dude who died, who's like the like grandfather progenitor of like this entire region. One of the greatest like adversaries of Oda Nobunaga, who eventually unified Japan, and whom he borrowed the civil practices and guidelines of to establish like modern Japan as we know it. So I was really excited about that, but then I got scammed and we weren't able to enter those, traditional pools. So that's probably the most in-depth thing I've done as far as like onsens go. Like, there was a anime, I like anime. There was an anime that was based in Yamanashi, and I went around to like the different places that they like camped and stuff, and that was pretty fun. One of them was an onsen, and it was gorgeous and beautiful and fantastic. And I've eaten lots of good food. It's just kind of been like a collection of, for me, like the thing that I've done the most in Japan, like the most intense things, I guess, for me have been sightseeing experiences, traveling experiences, like doing the things to do in Japan has been my thing to do. And for the most part, I've done it alone. There's no real community there. There's community, like I'm like with other foreigners in Japan, like in my area, and then also with other English teachers in Japan who are part of like the JET program. That's the community that I found. And it hasn't really gone very well as far as like making friends go. I think I made one friend, and then like the second time we met, she brought her friend and we did not get along, and the relationship between me and the person that I was originally very friendly with. I don't even know if you can consider us friends, because we met one time and we hung out and we talked and it was really good and we were clicking and vibing, and it was kind of like, oh yeah, I'm really excited and everything. And then we went on a trip together and she brought her friend and it was like, oh yeah, like, and then me and her friend did not get along. There was a big issue, and it just, yeah, it just kind of soured the relationship there on, and I'm just like, were we even friends, like, at any point? And it's just kind of like regretful that that happened, but like, what can you do, man? Other friends that I've had here would be my predecessor. I don't know if we're friends. It's more like we kind of hang out sometimes, but like randomly. Like, we didn't get as close as maybe she wanted us to get. Like, she was very open at the beginning, but it just didn't happen. Like, it just didn't happen on my end, or there, or whatever, I don't know. The coworker that I started the job with, I think we were friends, but we didn't keep in contact after he left on such bad terms. I don't think he was interested in it either. I don't think there would have been much of a point. And then this girl that I became friends with when we went to training for like the same school method certification that we use. She's from a different school, but we lived in the same kind of city, and I would invite her to go out on trips with me. I can't remember if she invited me to go to one thing. It was cherry picking. That was lots of fun. It was with her coworker. And then when she left, she invited me to a dinner with the people who were taking over for her to kind of like introduce us and stuff, and maybe we would get along, and it didn't happen. We didn't click. So I never saw those people ever again. And then at the English teacher stuff, there have been a couple of people that have been really like nice and friendly, but we haven't really like become friends. There are some people that have stood out more than others. I would say the Bascos. There's a nice couple that's in my area. The wife, they're young. They're a young couple too, and they seem really nice. The wife, she came out here for a teaching job, and then her husband was kind of like touristing around, and I noticed one of his reviews on Google, and I was like, oh look, it's that guy. When I saw him later, it was really fun because it's for an Onsen too. So, but then he got a job, and yeah, so now they're both working, and they're really funny. But I think I did one thing one time where there was kind of like the wife was kind of like, hey, that's my husband, don't like joke with him like that, and I was like, oh okay, shit. So that's kind of what happened with that relationship. Like, fuck. I'm not trying to move in on your man. Like, what the hell? Anyway, that's where the friendship stuff has gone. I like my coworkers. I like two of my coworkers. The other one, he just kind of, I don't know how to feel about him. I don't think we get along, because we don't agree on things often. It's not that I don't like him, it's just that we don't agree on things a lot. We don't mesh, and I'm not sure why we don't mesh, but I think it's just a difference of opinion that comes up too often for us to really have a good rapport. We're not at ease with each other, so we don't really get along very well, but we get along well enough for a job. My other coworker, I kind of didn't pay as much attention to him while my first coworker who quit, not quit, he was fired, was here because they didn't get along. But he's really nice. He's okay. Um, I felt kind of weird, like when we first met. Like he was a bit like a skeezy older guy, but I mean he there's some parts, but you know he's dating someone now, so I don't really mind. Um, and yeah, and then the new coworker that I have, I kind of like gave her a lot of space in the beginning, and she kind of gravitated towards hanging out with her family members who live in Tokyo, which is really good for her. Like, I mean, good for her. She has family members in Tokyo and she gets to hang out with them and stuff. But occasionally we'll have like some talks and stuff, and I kind of just unload on her a bit. Like, I talk all the time, but it's weird when you talk to different people. Sometimes different things come up, and it feels like more genuine or less genuine. I don't know, you know. Like sometimes I'll get to work and I'll be in a class and I'll like start the whole spiel like, hey, how are you? What did you do this week? You know, like, oh, and how did that make you feel? And oh, I did this week, and that's kind of like where the discussion goes, and we don't really. It kind of like stymies into this kind of like, okay, well, what do we talk about next? What do we talk about next? I'm not really sure what to talk about. Like, I know what your interests are, but they're really shallow. Like, what do we talk about? I don't really know. And then when you get talking to someone else, like I have some really intense conversations with my boss sometimes. Like this past week he asked me, "Oh, what are you doing after, you know, the job is finished?" Like not after this job is finished, because he knew that I've been planning to travel around Japan, which is why this is going to be probably the last vlog of this type that I'm doing, because I'm talking into the stream that I'm streaming. Um because I'm going to be driving my car and camping around Japan for about a month before I leave. Because as I was working, I could do weekend trips, but there's not a lot of vacation time, and I've just kind of collected a bunch of like different experiences and places that I wanted to go and things I wanted to try that I haven't been able to get to because they're too far away, or it would be too much money or time or whatever to go visit them while I was working. But now, since I'm not working and I have a car, I'm gonna take this opportunity to travel around and see more of Japan. And I'm really excited about that. But he asked me, what am I gonna do after that? Like when I get back to the States, what are my intentions? Kind of, am I gonna go straight to work? Like where am I going? And I told him I'm going to the West Coast to visit my aunt, first of all, because that's the easiest flight I can take with my dog. Um, and then I told him a whole bunch. I was prefacing this a lot, like, this is crazy. I don't know if I'm really going to do it. Like, I might be talked out of it. It's really difficult. There's not really much of a reason for it. But I'm thinking about riding a bicycle across the country to Virginia. Why? Um, because I can't think of any reason I would ever do that ever again. Like why would I ever do that? It's like it's really difficult. It's not too expensive. You don't have to pay for gas. If you camp, you don't have to pay for lodging. There are free places that will put you up for the night. Um, Basically you pay for food and bicycle repairs. It's a couple $100s to get a bike when you get there, and less than 100 to get a trailer so that I can put my dog in it, and otherwise he'll run with me. Um, and then maybe a couple hundred to send my suitcases ahead of me, but that's it. It only takes about 2 or 3 months to do it, and I've done a 2 month trip out in the woods before, so this should be fairly easy. I mean, from like a time perspective point of view, and I'm not working, so I don't have to take time off. If I only have to support myself with like food, then if I'm ever in a pinch, I can ask my parents to help me because I'm pretty sure they don't want me starving anywhere across the country. Um, yeah, and it's a good opportunity to get in shape. It's a good opportunity to see the country, and that's kind of what I feel like I should be doing. I always felt like I should see my own country and understand where I come from before I tried to travel, and I've been living in Asia for basically a total of 3 years now, and it feels crazy. It feels so crazy. It's like, ugh, it's stressful, and I kind of want to go home now. Not because home is so great, but because there were things that I left there that I didn't like fully resolve before I came back. And one of them is my dog. I miss my dog. He's old. I want to take care of him. I want to be with him. I don't want him to die without me there. I don't want my parents to feel like I'm burdening them by leaving them with something to take care of while I'm out here. And I know they've been taking care of him for me for a bit, but I know they're not doing as much as they could be because they don't feel connected to him like I do. Um, that's pretty much it. I mean, I do have student debt and stuff, but I feel like I'm always gonna have debt for like the rest of my life, which is why at one point I was like, I'm not gonna be able to pay everything off. Like I would have been able to pay off pretty much everything that I had, except for I wouldn't be doing anything, and it would be a waste of an opportunity to be abroad here. And oh, the other big thing about being in Japan for the past 2 years is from the time I'm 26 now and I'm about to be 27. So basically from the time I was 25 to 27, my mid 20s to my late 20s, I haven't been dating pretty much at all. Like, nothing can come of a relationship out here because I mean I was kind of like, yeah, I'm like at the early stages it was like, oh, I have so much time, like if I got into a relationship I could date them for a year or 2 years even, like wouldn't that be crazy? Like what if I meet a guy out here and I want to get married, and oh my gosh, I guess I would live out here, wouldn't I? And then and then I had some hookups and then they turned into pregnancy scares, but they weren't actually pregnant see at all. It was just kind of like, oh shit, what if I actually did like get pregnant, and what if I had to quit my job because I'm not like with someone and I have no family out here, and what if I have to go back to America because I got pregnant out here and I can't have a baby and be a single mom and not have work. Like will my boss even let me work if I was pregnant or something like that? Like what would happen? Like what is the job security? Like is there any security situation? Like that happened when I had like a hookup and I was like, ooh, what if something did happen? Like nothing happened, of course, but like what if something did happen? That's something I have to think about. That boys don't have to think about. It's really shitty. Sorry, I remember there was this one blog thing that I came across about this guy who like knocked up a girl, and she was like, I'm gonna have a baby, and people were like, oh, she's just gonna use you for money, and then other people were like, it's not in their culture to have abortion, so don't expect it. And he was like, I don't know how I feel about some kid with my genes being part of this country or whatever, and not like da 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 da, but it sounded like he just wanted her to have an abortion, and I was just like, you're so selfish. Like, why do you get to decide? Like, what the hell? Should have wrapped it up, man. You should have wrapped that shit up. That's your responsibility. You're thinking about kids and shit. Like, who are you gonna come to another country and not know at least that basic stuff? It's very hard to get an abortion in Japan. It's very hard to get birth control too. So in Taiwan it was not that difficult, which was liberating. And also the boys are more like interested in and proactive in talking to girls. Like, even out in the boonies, you would think that people wouldn't be very good at English because of the way that they, like, don't have anyone to talk to or whatever. But they were actually, like, really forthcoming about practicing with me and stuff. Like, here in Japan, people know English. They learn English for a very long time, but they won't speak it. They won't speak it with you. Or if they do speak, it's really bad, and it's just kind of like, why are people in Taiwan better at speaking English than people in Japan? And for that matter, why are guys in Japan, like, not talking to me? But guys in Taiwan, even if they don't speak English, will talk to me. I don't know. So, that's the thing. I can't compare it to Korea, so I can't make a general, like, all over Asia, like, maybe it's just a Japan thing. Although I do think it's just a Japan thing. Anyway, and the other thing about that is, because I've been living in the countryside and not in the city, it's different. It's different. There's not as many, like, opportunities to go out, opportunities to meet people. One of the things that I wanted to do while I was here was to develop a more adult lifestyle, and that to me means going out, mingling, meeting people, dating. That hasn't happened while I've been here, and I'm just getting older. Like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not interested particularly, like, I feel like maybe when I was younger, I did have a timeline, kind of like an idea of like, oh, you should get married before you're, or you should, I mean, from a biological, scientific point of view, you should probably have kids before you're 30, or at least 32, because the chances of them having Down syndrome after that point is higher. It just, like, raises in percentage as you get older, which I'm really wondering if that's true or not. Like, I heard it was a scientific, like, fact before. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm really wondering if this isn't a lie. Like, of course your eggs are only getting older. They say that. Like, your eggs, a woman is born with all the eggs she's ever gonna have when she's a baby. And then they just get older and older. Meanwhile, men are producing sperm every 20 seconds. I don't know if that's a fact, but I'm just saying. How is that fair? How is that fair? How is that fair? It's not even like I really think that I want a kid. I mean, I'm more tolerant of children now after working with them. Like, I think they're cuter and stuff. And they really are super cute. Like, the 2 and 3-year-olds that I have in my kindergarten class are just fucking adorable. They are just the cutest things ever. And then the 4-year-old that I have on my class on Mondays that I just had, it's not the last time I'm seeing her because she has a makeup lesson next week, so she will be like literally the last student I see while I'm here. She's called me like her big sister before, and she said that she loves me, and she's just so cute and really frustrating sometimes, but so cute, and super spoiled, but so cute. Gosh, I cannot imagine having my own child. I cannot imagine it. I can't imagine who I'm gonna marry. I can't imagine where I'm gonna live. I can't imagine what job I'm gonna have. I can't imagine being 40. Like, what is my face gonna look like? These are things that I think about sometimes. Like, when I think about the future and, like, what is there out there for me, I kind of skip over everything. And at one point, actually, before I came out here, I was just imagining, trying to think of what kind of death do I want to have? Not like I'm rushing towards it or anything, but like, if I can plan the end point, or if I can have a goal in mind of like how I want to die, then maybe everything else will kind of like fill in and I can live a satisfying life up until that point. Because I feel like we get several lives to live. Like, have you ever seen that movie, Catch Me If You Can? That movie, like, just made me feel all tingly on the inside. Like, it just gave me energy, and it made me feel like, wow, like, amazing. Like, not only is it funny and interesting and, like, exciting, but this man is intelligent, and he lives several different lives within the confines of his own life. And by the end of the movie, we haven't even seen the end of his experience. Like, you know, movie ends and then people go on to live like 30, 40 more years doing what? Just the thing that they did at the end of the movie, which is crazy because I guess like you have 40 years to figure out what you're going to do and then 40 more to do that thing before you die, which is like 2 different lives, but like the time that you have is like exponentially faster when you're younger. So I guess that makes sense. The life that I had from the time I was 10 to 20 is completely different than the life that I had from the time I was 0 or 1 to 10. And they say when you're working, you should change your job every like 3 years or something like that. So if you look at your life in like 3-year increments, your lifestyle and the people that you know and your interests and where you live is going to be very different. Like the 4 years I was in college are very different from the past 4 years. Yes, okay. I graduated that year, which was at least 4 years ago. Okay, so the 4 years after I graduated have been very different from the 4 years I spent in college, which have been very different from the 4 years that I spent in high school, which were very different from the 4 years of elementary school and middle school, which were very different from the 4 years before that in middle school. All those 4 years are different. If you consider that 4 years is a lifetime, right? The person I was then is gone. They don't exist anymore. They're just like a small piece of a stretched out string that exists in the memory that's attached to my front consciousness or whatever. I don't know what I'm saying right now, but you kind of get my point. Like, what the fuck? I don't know. I'm not those people. I was those people, but I'm now me. And the me now is at a turning point. And I feel like that's what I want. Like that movie, Catch Me If You Can. I want as many lifetimes as I could possibly have. And I don't know what they could be exactly, but maybe they could be everything I ever imagined, everything I ever thought of, anything that I ever considered interesting or a possibility. I just have to put it forward and make it happen. That is like so crazy and exciting that I have the opportunity to do that with my life. And I mean, over the past 8 years, I guess, since going to school, you start getting hit with the hard truth that like you are giving up experiences, you are giving up possibilities, you are closing doors, you are cutting ties, you are shutting down possible lives. Like the me who got pregnant at 18 and had a kid by the time I was 24, the young mother who, you know, banged some hot guy and is a hot young mama and is gonna be hot and is gonna be like the MILF when her kids' friends come over at like 17 or something like that. I don't know. That's not gonna be me. That's not gonna be me unless I'm like still super hot when I'm that age. From this point on, like that's not gonna be me because I didn't get pregnant in my early 20s. I didn't get pregnant in my mid 20s. I'm in my kind of like mid late 20s, mid 20s, early mid 20s, but still kind of like late 20s. My late 20s, and I am not pregnant. I don't have a kid. I'm not raising a child. I am not going to be that person. That's not who I'm gonna. My life isn't gonna turn out that way. And there are lots of people out there in the world who face this reality, and it's not just about like children or whatever. I mean, of course it is about children. Like, oh my gosh, some people get pregnant and then like, holy shit, my entire life is going to change because now I'm that person. Now I'm the person who has a teenage pregnancy, or now I'm the person who's going to have a daughter who's going to be half my age when I'm like 40 or something like that. Like, what the fuck, you know? And it really sucks when you don't have a choice, but like I kind of definitely chose this. So yay me for getting what I chose by putting out fuck you vibes to all the men around me, and like I'm uncomfortable with getting pictures taken and having low self-confidence, and what other words are there? Being a hermit and not going out, not putting myself out there, and then complaining that like, hey, I haven't been dating anyone. Like, oh my gosh, like what's happening in my life, kind of stuff. Like, is this the reason that I actually want to date people? Because I am feeling my biological clock, or is it because of like the narrowing of possible futures or something? Maybe it's the fact that my body is falling apart now. Like, there is an age, you probably don't realize this, like if you're very young, there is an age when you start falling apart. That, I don't know how to say it. There's just an age when like things start breaking faster than they fix. And I think I've come to that point already. Things aren't repairing as quickly. So you feel stuff a little more. You see stuff a little more. Things linger. Things aren't going as well. I have like a sunspot on my arm from, I got like sunburn and I just peeled the skin back, and now I've got like a little sunspot. A little sun patch. You can even see it on the fucking camera. Holy shit. That's disturbing. There it is. And I have a scar on my knee that looks way different from any scar I've ever had as a child. It is not white. I mean, it's kind of white, but it's got like, it was a bruise that never unbruised. So now it's like this pink, flush bruise that's underneath like the tiniest little spider scar tissue, and it's not going away. And normally scar tissue to me is white, but it's not white, and it's very strange. I'm just like, my body is failing me. My hair, I worry about my hair. What else? My skin. My skin is fucked. I don't know how to describe it. Oh, earlier when I was talking, right, I'm feeling it right now. My back pain, my joints. I'm just like, fuck, my muscles are really weak, I guess, because they're not holding my back up. They're not alleviating the pressure on my back. I'm gonna be fucked when I'm older, like, and I'm feeling that now. And then, my joints, my ankles. I went out this past weekend for, what was it? St. Patrick's Day, and I went to a club. I picked up a guy, I guess, but not really like in a sexual way. Like, it was kind of sexual at first. It was kind of like, we met at like a little bar, we got talking and stuff, and it was kind of like, oh hey, you know, and then it was kind of like, why don't you come around town with me and I'll take you to this bar that I want to go to. And then I turned into a fucking tour guide for him. And it was kind of like, oh, how old are you? And he was younger than me, little shit. And I don't have anything against younger guys. In fact, I am interested. I would be interested in younger guys, except for there's some of them are just too immature. Like, could I get a more mature younger guy? No. No, it's too hard to find him, I guess. This guy, he looked like his face was fucking 30 because of his stupid, facial hair. But, I don't know, I like boyish looking faces. Like, if a guy looks like an old man, I'm not into that. If you're like 25 and you look like you're 30 because you've got facial lines, it's not cool. But he was this weird mix of like very sexist. No, he was a sexist, like kind of little fuckboy. And he was interested in like the pervy things about Japan, so there's that. And we didn't split until like after first train, and honestly, we could have split before that. It was, I think the reason I don't like that whole thing was because like at the end of it, he offered early in the night. He was just like, oh, you know, I booked a place that's got like double beds, so like if you need a place to crash tonight, you can just come to my hotel and sleep. And I was like, oh, that's so nice of you. Like, sure, yeah, I can come to your place and just like crash out, and you check out at like what, 11 or something. Like that would be great because then I could nap and then I could go back. And I wasn't wearing a skanky outfit either, so like I won't feel like a total like walk of shame in the morning. I've done that before. That sucks. 'Cause it's like a 2-hour commute back to my apartment. You don't want to be caught in a dumb outfit on the way back when it's like 11 in the morning. Um, but anyway, he offered pretty early in the night, and then I noticed when we were going around that like he was definitely taking videos for his girlfriend because he wouldn't want me to like talk during them, or he wouldn't want to like show me in a video, or he wouldn't want to like have me in a picture or anything like that. Um, it was really dumb. I should have asked him when I first like started talking to him if he had a girlfriend or if he was single or whatever, but no, I was just kind of like excited that I was talking to another person in English. But I had just channeled the me from like last year when I was like hanging out with foreigners. Oh my gosh. This is why I need to date more. Like if it didn't cost me like $300 every time I went into town, then I would be probably dating more. And then I would be able to weed out all these fuck boys. I don't need them if they're not gonna just jump on my dick. Like I don't know how else to say this. Like I'm not like I'm leaving Japan in like a month, and if I meet someone in Tokyo, I'm not interested in starting like a long distance, like long time relationship. Like even like the few times that I've gone into Tokyo, I'm like I'm there to enjoy. I'm spending money to go there for a reason, to do things, okay? I'm not, I mean, yes, if I meet somebody, I'm totally open to having a good time with them or whatever, but none of these guys ever, they don't ever like go for it, you know what I mean? And like part of me is like, I've thought, I guess I've thought about this in the past before, like part of me is like, um, doesn't really like guys when they're like too forceful, but the other part of me is like, the fuck, they're not doing anything. They're not doing anything. Like, if you ask me what I want to do tonight, I came with a plan. I didn't come to just, like, wander around and be all like, oh, my life is so open. Like, I'm just ready for a penis to just come into it. Like, woohoo! Fuck! Like, fuck my plans. Like, I had nothing going on until your dick showed up. And now that it's here, let's go do something. Except for I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna suggest it because I'm a lady. I'm just gonna go with whatever you want to do. Why are you looking at me like that? My dog looks, he's like looking at me like I'm scandalizing him. It's not about you. I'm not talking about you at all. I'm talking about men. Okay? Go to sleep. Crazy. I don't. This reminds me of something I saw online recently. It was about this guy who was talking about how women are angry because they don't have enough sex or something like that, and how uh he said something really demeaning, and then he was like, all these women are angry at me because they don't get enough sex. Blah, 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 blah. That's not a valid argument for every situation. And it's not really a valid argument at all, because, like, are you gonna say that men are just shitty because they don't get enough sex? I mean, maybe. I mean, they're guys. So. There are other things in my fucking life than dick, okay? And I have consistently shown pretty consistently shown that I will choose my own interests over dick, even if dick is one of my interests. Like, yes, I'm thirsty. Yes, I would like a long fucking drink. My God, do I really want it? It's been a dry fucking season, okay, yes. But I have my own interests, my own ideas, my own plans. I'm not gonna, like, be your soft, sweet little, like, I'm not gonna, like, bend to your weirdness, okay? Like, whatever. Like, all the guys are, like, there was this one guy who was, like, I don't know, a fat perv or something. He was just like, come on, be soft, blah, blah, because he wanted to fuck me in a stairwell. And I was just like, no, that's not happening. It's daylight out. Like, you lost your chance. Like, why didn't you, like, this is not the time. Like, if we were gonna do this, you should have, like, it should have been like 2 or 3 o'clock in the fucking morning, and you would have been like, let's go. And I would be like, oh, where are we going? Where are we going? Are we going somewhere? Like, oh, what? You're interested? But no, like, at fucking 5:30 in the morning, I'm not gonna fuck you in a stairwell. Like, fuck no. Or, like, there's this one guy who, I don't know, he saw me, he started following me, talking to me, whatever, and he was, like, interested in me and stuff, and that was weird. Once there was, like, a guy around, other guys started showing up, and it was just kind of like, ooh, hey, but he followed me to a club, and that was pretty fun, because we stayed until the club shut down. It was a great club. And then after that, it was kind of like, oh, what do we do? Where do we go? And I don't know what I was thinking or whatever. I think he wanted to go to, like, a hotel or something, or I don't know where he wanted to go, but it didn't work out. It didn't work out at all, and I just wanted to go home. I was just really tired. I wanted to go home. It was just too late at that point, because it was after the club shut down, so it was 5 in the fucking morning. So there. Not the time. And then after that, he messaged me for like a couple of weeks and was like, hey, are you coming to Tokyo again? Are we gonna meet up? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't really have a reason to go in. Like, I'm not coming just for your dick. That's not happening. Like, yeah, I was bumped up against it and whatnot, but, you know. Are you coming out to meet me? I'm not going to your town to meet you. Like, you just want to get, like, a love hotel or whatever, like, in Tokyo? Maybe. I don't know. But that didn't happen. So, and then there was this one guy who Tinder came through. This might be the only time Tinder came through here in Japan. Fuck. Tinder is shit. It's absolute shit here. For me, at least. Like, it's not been great. Like, I get matches, but like no one talks. If they talk, they talk in Japanese. And if we do talk, their English is pretty shitty. And what else can I say about that? No one meets up. So this was like the one Tinder date that I had, and it was with a Indian guy from India. And he seemed pretty nice. He was really chill. It was late, so I ended up sleeping over at his place, which was a fucking mess. He had a regular sized bed in his half height loft. So the mattress was like here, and his ceiling was like right here. You had to slide in, and I was just like, I don't know. I didn't make any like overt moves on him. And in the morning I left, and it was just kind of like, nothing happened. And then we made like a date for him to come out and hang out with me. And then one of my friends thought that we were gonna do that together too, so she came on that date with us. And then he came back to my place, and he had a really tiny dick. So, and he felt bad about it too, so we kind of stopped talking after that. And that was one of those things where I was just like, if I grabbed him earlier, then I would know before I invested 2 dates in this relationship. But the dates themselves weren't that bad. Of course, I paid for my own shit, but they were kind of fun. So that's kind of cool. Like, dating itself is fun. Can be fun. Yeah, I think dating can be fun. The whole sex thing is shitty for the most part. Can't think of any like good times that there was this one guy I was hooking up with that my friend helped that whole situation happen, because we went out to pick up guys, and I was like, I don't know, I've never fucking done this before. And she just went and picked these 2 guys, and we're in Japan. She picked black guys. And they were African. French African? I don't know about the one that she was with, but that ended up being like a hookup for me for a bit. But it kind of got like, I was getting, that was the time of the pregnancy scare for me and for her. Like, they were not, how do I say this? Up to the most stringent sexual practices, I would say. Maybe, I don't know about her situation, but with I feel like it's the same thing that happened. So we actually ended up talking about it, yeah, but she chose vitamin C, and I chose, like, I'm gonna fuck everything up in my body right now. Like, nothing good. What just happened? It says I disconnected and then reconnected. Did it make like a new video for me? What happened? Where's my thing at? I might just like close out because it's been a long time. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Okay. Should I wrap this up? Should I come up with like a final like summary for what's going on? I think I've talked about it. I'm finishing classes this week. Last week classes. Next week there are no classes for makeup. I have one, and then I'm going to move out of my apartment. I have the farewell party. I'm moving out. I'm basically, somebody's coming to look at my car too, to see if they want to buy it. So I have to get it cleaned sometime this week and clean out everything. And also I need to do I'm doing the insurance inspection next week. So I need to clean everything out of the car and then I need to pack everything in here, and then I need to shove everything into the car before it's time for me to move out. And I need to sell everything. Fuck, I need to move things in that car that need to be sold. I need to move my bike down to the where my boss work is. We keep a lot of bikes out there, but I need to move it over there so that it's like safe or whatever. Or maybe I'll move it to my coworker's place. I don't know. I think it's better if I leave it with my boss. But anyway, I've got a lot of little things to do, and I haven't actually like picked out where I'm going, like as soon as I'm done with everything here, for me to travel around Japan. Originally I was planning on going as far south as possible and then working my way up Japan to the northernmost point that's not Hokkaido, when I like follow the sakura as it blooms across Japan, because it blooms from the south to the north. But this year it's coming early, so it's about mid-late March right now, and we're going to be seeing the earliest blooms of sakura now. Some people are saying it's blooming in Tokyo. Okay, alright, there's something wrong with this. So what is that? What is this? I'm gonna end the stream. Okay, that's it. I'm ending it.